This video is intended strictly for educational, scientific, and documentary purposes. The information presented is focused on plant biology, cultivation theory, environmental control, and general horticultural analysis. Nothing in this content should be interpreted as legal, medical, or financial advice, nor as encouragement to violate any local, state, or federal laws. Viewers are solely responsible for understanding and complying with the laws and regulations in their own area. This channel promotes responsible, lawful, and safe educational discussion only. Here's a puzzle to start with. Take two cuttings off the same mother plant, identical genetics down to the gene. Put them in the same room, same pots, same feed, same temperature, same light intensity. The only difference is the color of the light. One gets a little extra far red, the slice of the spectrum sitting right at the edge of what your eyes can see. The other doesn't. Come back in a few weeks and the two plants don't match. One is taller. Its growing points are spaced further apart. It has visibly stretched. Same DNA, same care, completely different architecture. So what happened? The light gave it an instruction and the plant obeyed. Today we're going to open up that instruction piece by piece. The exact signal, the receptor that reads it, and the cells that carry it out. Get that right, and far red stops being something that happens to your plants and starts being something you decide. Let's start with the receptor, because everything downstream depends on it. Your plant is covered in a pigment called phytochrome. Think of it as a light-activated switch with two positions. One form absorbs red light, around 660 nanometers. We'll call that the resting form. When it catches a red photon, it flips into a second active form. That active form absorbs far red light, around 730 nanometers. And when it catches a far red photon, it flips back to resting. So red light switches it on, far red light switches it off. In daylight, both are happening at once, and the plant settles into a balance point. Scientists call that balance the phytochrome photoequilibrium. It's just the percentage of your phytochrome sitting in the active form at any given moment. Here's why that balance matters. The active form suppresses stretching. It tells the plant, you have plenty of open light, stay compact, build out. When the active form drops, that break comes off and the plant starts to elongate. So what moves the balance? The ratio of red light to far red light hitting the leaf. Under open sky, that ratio is high. Lots of red, the switch stays mostly on, the plant stays short. But under a canopy, neighboring leaves soak up the red and let the far red pass through. So the ratio drops, the switch flips off, and the plant reads that drop as one thing: competition. This is the part the folk story misses. The plant isn't reaching for light it can see. It's reacting to a color signal that warns it light is about to be taken away. And this response has a name in the research. It's called the shade avoidance response, and it's some of the most well-studied photobiology we have. It is not folklore. The folklore is just the cartoon version of it, and this is measurable, which is the whole point. A decent spectral sensor reads out your red and your far red levels directly, and from those two numbers you calculate the ratio. Open sunlight runs a ratio a little above 1, roughly equal parts red and far red. Step under a dense canopy and that number can fall below 0.5 and keep dropping the deeper you go. Once you can put a number on it, the whole game changes. You're no longer guessing why a plant in the back corner is stretching while the one under the center of the light stays squat. You can see the signal in the data, and a signal you can measure is a signal you can steer. So the switch flips off. What actually happens inside the stem? The visible result is elongation, and most of it happens in a zone just below the growing tip. Now, there are two ways a stem can get longer. It can make more cells, or it can make its existing cells bigger. Far red leans hard on the second one. The cells in that zone were already in line to expand. Far red just dramatically increases how far they go. And it's not only the stem. Watch the leaves, and you'll often see them tilt upward, lifting toward the open sky at a steeper angle. That upward angling is part of the same shade avoidance package. It's a tell. When you see it alongside the stretch, you're looking at a plant that has already decided it's being crowded. But I want to be careful with the language here, because this is where a lot of explanations get sloppy. Far red photons do not directly pry the cell open. There is no photon reaching in and loosening a wall. What actually happens is a chain. The light signal hits phytochrome. Phytochrome changes a set of internal messengers. Those messengers trigger hormones, and the hormones, several steps later, tell the wall to loosen. So when you hear that far red loosens cell walls, treat that as shorthand for a multi-step cascade, not a direct action. The loosening itself is real and worth picturing. A plant cell sits under enormous internal pressure, like a balloon pushed against a rigid box. The wall is the box. To grow, the cell pumps protons into that wall, which drops the local acidity and switches on proteins called expansins. Expansins let the wall fibers slide past one another. The box softens, the internal pressure wins, and the cell stretches lengthwise. Multiply that across thousands of cells in the elongation zone, and you get a visibly taller, stretchier stem. That's the mechanism, not reaching. Controlled, pressure-driven expansion switched on by a color signal. Now let's talk hormones, because the popular version usually names just one. Auxin. An auxin is involved. A low red to far red ratio does push the plant to make and move more auxin toward those elongating cells. But auxin is one player on a team, and if you stop there, your map is incomplete. The bigger hub is a family of proteins called phytochrome interacting factors. Think of them as the molecular middlemen between the light switch and the growth response. When the active phytochrome is high, it keeps these middlemen in check. When far red knocks the active form down, the middlemen are released and they switch on growth programs. Two other hormones matter just as much here: gibberellin and brassinosteroid. Gibberellin does something elegant. It clears away a set of brake proteins that were holding those middlemen back, so the elongation signal amplifies on itself. So the honest picture is not one hormone you dial like a thermostat. It's a small network, auxin, gibberellin, and brassinosteroid, all converging on the same outcome. Cell expansion. I'm laboring this because precision matters. If someone tells you a specific far red recipe surgically controls a single hormone, be skeptical. What you're really doing is nudging a whole network in one direction. That's still powerful, it's just not surgical. Okay, here's where I have to push back on something you'll see repeated all over forums and product pages. The claim goes like this: use far red, especially at the end of the day, to tighten your internodes and pack in denser flower. I need to be straight with you. That's backwards. Everything we just covered points the other way. Far red removes the compactness break, so adding it generally makes internodes longer, not shorter. The spaces between your growing points open up, and there's a specific, well-documented twist on timing. A dose right before lights out, what people call an end-of-day treatment, produces the strongest stretch of all. Researchers studying flowering plants found that far red given at dusk maximized stem elongation. So if your goal is tighter spacing, an end-of-day far red dose is close to the worst tool you could reach for. It does the exact opposite of what it's being sold to do. So where does the density idea even come from? Two real things, tangled up with a lot of marketing. First, photosynthesis. For years, the official definition of usable light stopped at 700 nanometers. Then work out of Utah State showed that far red, when it's delivered alongside red, actually pulls its weight in photosynthesis too. That finding was big enough that the definition of photosynthetically active light got widened to include it. So far red can mean a little more captured energy, but here's the leap people make. They assume more energy automatically becomes denser flower. It doesn't. That energy can just as easily pour into the stretch we just described, into longer internodes and bigger leaves instead of into tighter, heavier buds. Second, In some crops, the shade avoidance response does increase flower set. But here's the catch for your grow specifically. The research on far red and flower yield in this plant is genuinely thin, and the results are mixed. Some trials show a bump, some show no significant difference at all. The benefit gets advertised far more confidently than the data actually supports. So, what do you do with all this? Treat far red as an architecture tool, not a density button. If you want height and reach, more open structure, longer stems to train and bend, far red gives it to you. If you're fighting stretch and you want compact, dense structure, you go the other way. You raise your red to far red ratio, you lean on red and especially blue light, and you keep far red away from the end of the day. There's solid research showing that adding blue light cancels out a lot of far red stretch while barely touching flowering. So if you're running a light that's heavy on far red and you don't love the stretch, the fix usually isn't ripping out the far red. It's bringing the blue up to rebalance. That's the real lever for density, not more far red. Better balance across the whole spectrum. Let's bring this into the room you actually grow in. The frontier right now is dynamic spectral control. Instead of one fixed recipe from seed to harvest, newer controllers can shift the ratio of red, far red, and blue across the day and across the plant's life stage. The idea is to use a touch of far red early to drive the canopy architecture you want, open it up, get some height and some space between the sites, then pull the far red back and raise the ratio to tighten everything up as flower fills in. That's a real and promising direction, and it lines up cleanly with the biology we just walked through. But I'll temper the hype. You'll hear that this makes a simple fixed spectrum setup obsolete. It doesn't. A well-chosen static spectrum still grows excellent flower, and most of the best harvests in the world are still produced under fixed lights. Dynamic control is an optimization, not a requirement, and it's no substitute for getting the fundamentals right. Here's how I'd actually put all of this to work. First, know your spectrum. If your light carries meaningful far red and you're seeing stretch you didn't ask for, that's not bad luck. That's the mechanism we just described, running exactly as designed. Second, use far red on purpose. Want a taller, more open plant? A little more far red earlier in the day? Want compact and dense? Higher red to far red ratio, more blue, and no far red near lights out. Third, and this is the scientist in me talking, don't take any of this on faith, including from me. Run a side-by-side. Take clones from the same mother so the genetics are identical. Hold everything else steady, the feed, the pot size, the temperature, the watering, and change one thing, the far red. Then measure. Put a ruler on the internodes and write down the spacing for each plant. At harvest, weigh the dry flower from each one on the same scale, under the same drying conditions. Now, you're not arguing about anecdotes. You've got two numbers and a clean comparison. Your room is the only lab whose data actually applies to your room. That's the whole shift I want you to make. Away from copying recipes off a form and toward reading the signal, understanding the cascade, and testing it for yourself. Far red isn't magic, and it isn't a myth. It's a lever. And now you know which way it actually pulls. Peace.